There might be one a little firmer at the desk. Good evening. Welcome to the beginner's yoga class, Wednesday evening, 7 o'clock p.m. here at the Hatha Yoga Center. I'm Chris, and it is March 17th, 2021, which is St. Patrick's Day. And I'm actually wearing something green, so I didn't even plan it. So let's start in a seated position this evening. It's quite a warm and lovely evening here in Seattle. It feels very spring-like. We are very close to being in to the spring equinox. So a couple more days. So finding your seat and settling in for a few moments of breathing and grounding to get started this evening. So feel your seat against the surface you've chosen to sit on, which in my case is a bolster. You might want to sit on the floor, or you could sit up on a chair or perhaps on a cushion. So go ahead and just let your lower body relax against the floor or the seat. Really drop into the weight of your body. See if you can kind of soften your lower body. And then feel your spine rising up out of the heaviness and groundedness of your lower body. You might sway a little bit just to feel some sense of kind of balance in your seat, a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right sit bone, until you feel kind of satisfied that you're somewhat evenly grounded in your seat. And then feel your spine. Feel for the curves of the spine, the natural curves of your spine, which are important. And of course, that's not one perfect place. It's a kind of an ongoing thing to find neutral. So it involves some movement. And then bring your awareness to your breath. You could close your eyes if you like, or find a soft gaze down and ahead of you. Relaxing your jaw and your eyes, your forehead, letting your shoulders relax away from your ears and slide down the back of the rib cage. And then just bring your awareness to the breath coming in and out of your nostrils. So let that be your point of focus to begin with. Breathing through the nose. And when you get distracted or your mind starts to stray, bring yourself back to the breath entering through the nose. So feel it in your nostrils. And let the breath flow in and out comfortably. Feeling the breath all the way around the ribcage as the ribcage moves with the breath, expanding and contracting to create room for the lungs, expanding and contracting within. Notice if you're feeling fidgety or you're impatient to get started. See if you can set aside your sense of anticipation and just bring yourself really present into your body and into this moment on your mat. In your practice. Again, bringing your attention back to your breath over and over again to be present. We are going to move in just a moment. You know that, but you don't know the exact moment at which I'm going to say move. Of course, if you're watching this from home, you can do whatever you want, but try to stay in your seat for a few more moments. Just observing your sensations and your breath. Noticing if you feel impatient or you feel fidgety or you feel tired, just whatever it is. And then begin to move. So maybe just swaying from side to side, starting to kind of let your spine undulate from side to side, so maybe the head moves along with that. And then you might start to make that into circles, circling around in one direction. then circling the other way. Feeling the weight going forward and to one side and back and to the other. And then circle back to center and just pause for a moment and notice how just a little bit of movement has already shifted your perspective. And then let's come to hands and knees, and we'll do some circling there. So come to your hands and knees and make circles with your hips. You can make them as big as you like. Letting the spine kind of go, the hips go to one direction, the head to the opposite. Switching the direction and circling. Moving with an awareness of the breath. And then coming back to center yourself in your tabletop position. Bring your forearms down. So you're on your forearms and knees, and rock back and forth. A couple more times, maybe moving with your breath in some way. Staying with the focus on the breath coming in and out through the nose. And then come back to center. And you could take your knees a little wider apart, like kind of a frog-like position. If you want to be on your hands, you could do that, or you can stay on the forearms and just rock gently forward and backward. You can take it as far back as you want, as far forward as you want. Just a gentle rocking. And then pause in frog pose. I know it's early in your practice, but we have been moving all day. Most likely it's 7 o'clock, so we're probably a little bit warmed up from our day. And see how, especially if you've been sitting much, it might feel really good to stretch into the front of the hips like this, into the inner thighs, the adductors. Feeling your breath and your long spine. Just a couple more breaths there. And then just move forward onto your belly. And come into Sphinx pose. And just move your head. You could look with your eyes around, kind of like a baby, how they look, and then they turn their head in the direction they're looking. This is one of the first things babies do to get off the floor. They lift their head, and then they begin to come into this position before they start to crawl. And then just come back to center and walk your elbows forward so that you're getting some stretch in the backs of your arms, triceps, and take a couple of breaths there. Breathing into your belly, now bring the awareness of your breath from your nostrils to your belly. So feel the belly expanding against the floor as you inhale. Just 2 more breaths here. And then straighten your arms. And bring the right arm out to the side, the hand a little below the shoulder. Press your left hand into the floor and walk the right hand away and just roll onto your side, so you're stretching a bit into the right shoulder. You could bring your left foot over to touch the floor. Take a few breaths there. Extra credit for coughing. Kind of makes you cough a little when you get into that side of your rib cage and the lung. And roll back onto your belly, extend your left arm, walk it away from you, a little below the shoulder, and roll onto your side. You can always prop your head on a cushion or a block, bringing your right leg, right foot over. Making a little adjustment in your spine like I just did. I don't know if you could hear that, but crack your hands under your shoulders. Press back up to hands and knees. And do a little bit of cat-cow. Round your spine. Exhale. Inhale. Tip your pelvis. Arching your spine. A couple more times through. Maybe when you come to cat, you could also come up onto your fingertips like this. Doming up your palms. Pause there. And then just move through a couple more times. Just gonna adjust the camera so that I can come back onto the mat. Having a little trouble with the stand, the tripod wanting to tip over. So let's come back to hands and knees to your tabletop position. And then tuck your toes and let your hips draw back towards your heels. Wrapping the elbows in and letting the shoulder blades slide. And then spread the hands about shoulder width and lift the hips up into your downward facing dog. And just bend into one knee and the other. So I have Lori here tonight and she's requesting some flow. So I'll do my best to give options so that this, I don't see anybody watching right now. If you're watching later, as some people do, it might not be, you might be looking for something more gentle in a beginner's class. You can modify any pose. You don't have to do anything. I'll give options. And then from here, come back to center for a moment. Lengthen your arms. You could bend your knees or straighten the legs. Maybe your heels come towards the floor, maybe not. Finding your breath. And then walking your feet forward, coming into a forward bend at the front of your mat. And find your long spine. Maybe your feet are about hip width. See if you can feel your arches gently lifting away from the floor. That's standing in a balanced way on your feet. You might feel your belly lifting a bit. And then just sweep the arms up and come up to stand. Lifting the arms. Find your gaze. And take 2 or 3 breaths here. Letting the shoulder blades slide down the back of the rib cage. And we're going to come straight back down into our forward bend. Maybe the arms come out to the sides. Then your knees come forward into the forward bend. And then come halfway up. Exhale, bow forward again. Take a complete breath. And then the next inhale, sweep the arms up again. We're going to do that a couple times. Take a big breath here. Inhale. Exhale, forward. Knees might bend a bit. Inhale up to a flat back. Halfway up. Exhale, forward. Take a complete breath. And then on your next inhale, sweep the arms out and up, come back up, lengthen up, inhale, and exhale, bow forward. Come up halfway, and exhale, bow forward again. This time stay for a couple breaths. Maybe letting go of the head and neck a little so you feel a little gravity tractioning the neck. And then from here, let's step the left foot back, bring the knee down, and come into a low lunge. Keeping head and shoulders lifted. Hips drop. And taking a breath here. You might bring your right hand on the inside of the right foot, draw the hips backward and forward a couple of times. You could lift the toes. You could put your hands on blocks. or be on fingertips. Just play with it. Try to keep your spine relatively neutral. Might round a little, but be conscious of it. And next time you come forward, just pause there. Again. And then we're going to take a twist. So keeping left hand on the floor or on a block, you could lift your right arm up. And then bring your arm over your ear. And then draw the elbow back into this kind of cactus shape. Inhale, reach the arm forward. Exhale, draw the elbow back. Inhale, forward. One more time. Exhale, draw the elbow back. And then forward again for a moment. Breathing. Keeping your neck long and neutral. And then sweeping your right hand back to the floor. Step back up to downward facing dog. Just taking a moment here. You could step your right foot up and over the left foot, lifting your right hip, pressing kind of evenly into your hands, stretching up the right side of your torso. Remember, at any time you can come into prayer pose and do the downward dog part as prayer. Come back through center, step left foot up and over, lift the left hip. Find your breath. And then stepping back to center. And then let's come forward into plank pose. So hold plank, you could bring knees down. Take a couple of breaths, pushing the floor away, lifting your belly. And then coming down to the floor, you could bend your elbows by your sides. Let's sweep the arms back. Interlace your fingers at your sacrum and lift them up. Lift the chest. Take a couple breaths. And then let's roll onto the left side. Being mindful of your neck here. Feel the shoulder blades sliding. And back through center, onto your belly and over onto the right side. Breathing. Nice, comfortable, steady breath. Back onto the belly. And then release your hands. Come to Sphinx again for a moment. This time you could draw your chin towards your chest and then lift. Extend your neck, stretch the front of the throat. Just another time like that. And release, bring your hands under your shoulders and press back up, either to prayer or to downward facing dog. Spreading your hands, lifting your tail. Finding a good breath rhythm. You might come to Ujjayi breathing, just gently closing off the back of your throat, just enough so you can hear your breath very gently, creating a little friction. And then from here, we will step the left foot forward and bring the right knee down, keeping head and shoulders lifting, letting your hips drop. Coming into the low lunge. And taking a couple breaths here, using blocks under the hands if you need to. And then we'll take the left hand on the inside of the left foot, draw the hips back, just rocking back and forth. Maybe lifting the toes and stretching into the back of the left leg. And the next time you come forward, come back to your lunge. Take the right hand to the floor or block and open up into the twist. Opening the chest, bringing the left arm up and over the ear, and then elbow bends and open the chest. Reaching forward, you can coordinate that with the breath. Maybe exhale as you draw the elbow back. Inhale forward. One more time, and then bring the arm up and over the ear for a moment, just hold. Or up and opening the chest, one of the two. And then bring your hand down and step forward into your forward bend. Take a complete breath in and out. And then inhale up to a halfway to 90-degree angle. Exhale forward. And then sweep the arms out and up. Inhale. With the gaze. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, come up halfway. Exhale, bow forward. This time we'll step the left foot back and we'll come sideways on the mat. So we'll turn to face forward. You might turn your toes slightly out and then bend into one knee and the other. You can do that with the hands lifted or on the floor. Just going slow from side to side. And then the next time you come over towards the left, you can bring your hands down and stay there. Bring your weight back a little more towards the heel. Maybe you can come to the forearm with your right arm and bring the back of your left arm into the shin or the knee, or stay up on your hands. Just taking a couple of breaths there, holding the pose. Maybe the toes of your right foot are pointing forward. And then move slowly through center and over to the other side. Toes of your left foot turn out. And maybe staying on hands or coming down to the forearm, left forearm, back of the right arm into the shin. Bring your weight back a bit, so let your hips come back and feel your heel pressing into the floor, supporting you. Breathing. Keeping your spine long. And then back up and through back to center. Turning the toes in a bit and walk your hands forward, spreading your hands so you're kind of in a wide-legged downward dog type pose. So keep your spine long here. Take a few breaths. Maybe you can wrap the elbows in and feel the middle of your back widening. And then walk the hands in towards center. And then we're going to turn towards the left foot and we will be in a pyramid position. So bring your feet about hip width. Turn the toes of your right foot out towards the edge of the mat. Might be on fingertips or up on the shin or using a block, but find your long spine. Feel both feet on the floor. So if you have to bend your left knee and kind of recommit your left foot to the floor and then draw the left hip back and slowly straighten the leg. If you need to keep a little bend in the knee, or walk your hands up higher to maintain that. Just finding a way to stay with your long spine and your free and deep breathing. So staying with it, feeling it, sensing it, noticing the breath in the face of challenge. And then from here, with the right hand on the floor or on a block or up on your shin, open up into a twist. So you're in revolved triangle, drawing left hip back. So you can really open your chest. Take some of the weight out of your fingertips on your right hand. And then slowly bring your left hand back down. You're back in your pyramid position. Pause there. And then step your right foot forward, so you're in a forward bend. at the back of your mat, which is also the front of your mat, but the opposite of where you were. We're going in a circle. And then from there, sweep the arms out and up, lengthen up, and then exhale, bow forward again. Come up halfway. Exhale, bow forward. Knees can be bent. And then from here, we'll step the left foot to the back of the mat. And we're going to turn and be sideways. So I'm in the opposite direction. I'm going to turn this way so I'm facing the camera. And then reach your hands perhaps to the outside edges of your feet for a moment if you can. You might have to walk your feet in a little bit to be able to do that. Lift your tail and use that grip on your feet to see if you can lengthen your spine and your head towards the floor a bit. Let your shoulders, they kind of want to drop here and round forward. See if you can instead just keep them neutral and draw the shoulder blades up. And then bring the hands, release, and bring the hands to center. Turn your toes out and bend your knees so you're in a really wide squat. And then bring your elbows to the inner knees and kind of press them out. So you're in a low squat. Keep your upper body long. Keep your breath moving. So you're stretching the inner thighs again. And then release the hands. And keeping your toes out, bring your hands to your hips, come up, straighten the legs. Reach the arms out, so you're in like a star shape. And then we'll bend the knees, bend the elbows, come into horse, and then straighten up to star. So come like that a couple times. Maybe exhale, inhale up. One more time. Exhale, inhale up. And then bend the knees and come into this horse pose. You can bend your elbows. And find your breath. So focus on your breath for a couple moments. Maybe sink a little deeper. And straighten the legs. Bring your hands back. Clasp your hands behind you. Open your chest. And bow forward with your hands clasped. Just bringing the arms up and over, but keep yourself from rounding forward, even there. Release your hands. And then we're going to turn and walk towards the left foot so that we're in a pyramid position, like we did on the other side. Let's take a couple breaths there. Just thinking about this. Yeah. So this is the same leg, but that's okay. Let's try it on this side, and then we'll switch and do it the other way. So, yeah. So left foot forward. Find your steady breath. Really stay with it. Let it be like you're in a neutral kind of attitude towards the pose, without a lot of anticipation of what's going to happen next. See if you can just stay with it. And then maybe with a hand on the block or on the floor, open up into your revolved triangle. Hand could also be on the shin. Draw the left hip back. We just did it. We were facing the opposite direction, so it might feel a little more comfortable than it did the first time. Just notice. It does for me. But that could be totally not true for you. So just noticing, breathing, and then release. Pause there. And then step your right foot forward. Coming into your forward bend. Come halfway up. Bow forward. And then sweep the arms out and up. And bow forward again. Into your forward bend. Knees can be bent. Come halfway up. Exhale, bow forward. And this time we're going to step the left foot back. So our right foot will be forward. We'll be in a pyramid position with our legs long and straight. So turning the toes of your left foot out towards the edge of the mat. Nice steady breath. Now we feel it more probably in the right leg. Staying with it for another breath or two. And then with your left hand on the floor or on a block, opening up into the revolved triangle. Maybe you can take some weight out of your left fingertips. Gaze might be up or straight ahead. Just keep the neck long and neutral. Just one more breath. Releasing your right arm back down. Pause there for a moment. And then we'll turn, and we're going to come back into that wide-legged forward bend. And you might just bend into one knee and the other. And going side to side. Maybe letting your upper body relax a little, your shoulders and elbows bending, and then come back to center. And then we'll turn towards the left foot and step back to downward dog. And taking a breath there. Let your right leg lift up and open the hips, stack the hips, bend your right knee. If you want a little bit more, you could let your right foot come all the way back and come into kind of a back, I guess it's, and then bring that right leg back up and bring it back to the floor. Some people call it wild thing.
Oh, that's right.
Let your left leg lift up. Bend your knee, stack your hips. And if you want to drop your left foot back towards the floor, this is really a beginner's move, but I'm going for variations here. You could be in prayer, you could be in downward dog, you could be in this wild thing pose. And then back up, lifting the left leg up, and replacing the foot back on the floor. Step your right foot forward for pyramid legs again. Take a few breaths there. Let your toes of your left foot angle out towards the edge of the mat. Draw your right hip back. Press into the mound under the big toe on the left foot. Bend your knee a little bit and draw the hip back as you straighten. Really feeling it all the way up the hamstrings and the muscles in your right leg. And then taking your revolve, taking the twist, opening up your chest, lifting your right arm, fingertips of your left hand could be resting against the floor lightly, possibly, or a block. So using the core and the strength of your hips, breathing. And then sweep your right hand back down, come back to pyramid for a moment. And step your left foot forward so you're at the back of your mat. Walk your feet out a little bit and come into a squat. So if you can't bring your hips all the way down, that's okay. So find your variation of a squat. If it's hard to come into a squat, you could put a little lift under the heels. So fold your mat up if you're using one, or use blocks or something, and put the heels on a lift. And it will make the squat a little easier. You might press your elbows into your knees and kind of lift up through the center, up through the crown of the head, dropping your hips. Just another breath. If you want to come into an arm balance, you could come into crow from here, bringing hands wide. We do it usually with wide hands, wide knees. Making a shelf with your elbows for the knees. And lifting feet up like a crow, flying. When you're ready to come out, just come back down into your squat. And then come forward into your forward bend. Take a few breaths there. Let it be restful. Bend your knees. If you like to bring your hands under the feet, you could do that. Taking any variation of your forward bend that feels good. If you have your hands under the feet, release them. And bend your knees a bit and slowly walk your hands up through the front of your body as you round, come up with a rounded back. Drawing the belly in, let your chin come up. Last, and let the arms hang. Do a little twisting with the arms hanging like the empty sleeves of a coat. It's warm in here tonight, which I don't mind, but coming back to center, shake it out a little. And then from here, bring your weight over to your left foot, lift your right knee. And just pause there. And then open that knee out to the side. And see if you can bring your foot into tree. So it might have to be lower. You might have to reach for the shin. It's okay. And then I can see you. I'm wobbly. So maybe the arms come up, maybe to the heart. Finding your variation of tree. Finding your gaze. And staying with your steady breath. Release the arms. And very slowly release in a controlled way. Shake it out a little. And then we'll stand on the right foot, so bring your weight over there. Let your left knee lift for a moment. And then opening the knee out to the side, coming into tree. You could try it without your hands. Whoop. Finding your steady gaze and your steady breath. Coming into your tree pose. So feel that kind of sense of strength up the midline of your body. So kind of from the center of your standing foot all the way up the center of your right leg. Finding a gazing point and your breath. And then letting the arms come back down and stepping the foot off slowly. You could circle your toes, ankles, knees, and hips in one direction. And the other, just kind of resetting. And then let's try bringing the weight over to the left. Lifting your right foot. Maybe you can reach for the top of the foot. Keep your knees kind of together. So you're feeling, as you draw your heel in towards your buttock, it kind of makes you want to lean forward, but instead lift up. Feel the stretch up the front of your right thigh. Maybe you could reach your left hand back also, and then press the foot away. Release your left hand and your right hand. Keep the foot lifted. Draw the knee up and release. Shake it out. This time we'll stand on, bring the weight to the left, no, bring the weight to the right. Bend your left knee. Maybe you can reach for the foot with your, or ankle with your left hand. And then maybe with the right. You might eventually lift the heart and press your foot back into your hands. So stretching the front of the body. Release the right hand. Release left, keep your foot lifted, and then draw the knee up, and release. Circle toes, ankles, knees, and hips in one direction and the other. And shake it out. Let's sweep the arms out and up. Lengthen up, exhale, come forward again. Lots of forward bends tonight. So bend the knees as much as you need to. Keep the tail lifted. And then step back from here to downward dog. Exhale, come forward to plank pose. Hold plank for a few breaths. Walk your feet in together so the inner edges of your feet are touching, so your legs feel like one big leg. Lift belly. Bring the knees down, come all the way down onto your belly. And rest for a moment, rock the hips from side to side. Feel the breath in the belly now. And bend your knees and let your feet go side to side. And then from here, let's stretch the outer hips. So that could be pigeon pose, or you could also, if pigeon's too hard on your knee or your hip, you could come onto your back and do figure four. So draw the right knee forward if you're doing pigeon. And bring yourself maybe to your forearms. I'm just taking a few breaths there. Could be on your back once again in a figure four. Find your steady, comfortable, relaxed breathing. Feeling the movement of your upper body with the breath, so the rib cage, even the belly. So maybe the breath is, you're not taking huge breaths, but you're breathing comfortably and steadily. And just another breath there. And then walk your hands in if you're in pigeon. And bring your back knee in. And come into a twist for a moment. So your legs are like at 90-degree angles. And then lift the left arm. Bring your left, start lifting first the left knee, then the right knee. Let the knees come over. Bring your right hand over. And go back and forth a couple times. So first starts with the right hand, then the right knee lifts. Bring the right hand back to the floor, left knee lifts. And rolling over to the other side. Just moving consciously from side to side. One more time. Right hand, right knee, left hand. And then we're back where we started. And then sweep that left leg around and straighten your right leg. So bring the left foot onto the outer part of your right thigh and sit up tall. And take a twist. Left hand comes back behind you. You might bring right hand underneath. Just turning the spine. Breathing. Staying with the breath. Relaxing the jaw. And then turning to face forward again. Step your left foot on the inside of the right thigh, coming into forward bend. You could reach for the foot or a strap. Keeping your spine long and breathing. Folding forward at the hip. Just another breath. And backing up. And sitting up tall. And taking a twist here with the right hand to the left knee. Just an easy twist. And unwinding the twist, and then sweep your right leg back. So we'll be in pigeon on the other side, or come onto your back for the figure four if this doesn't work for you. But coming into pigeon with the left knee forward. Staying with your steady breath, in and out through your nose. You can feel the breath moving the back of your body, your rib cage out to the sides. So the breath isn't just up high in the front of the chest, you can feel it in other parts of your chest. Just another breath there. And if you're in pigeon, walk the hands back in towards you and draw your right knee forward. So you're making those two 90-degree angles. Again, coming into a twist. So turning towards the left. Then sweep your right arm up, lift your right knee. Just try that little sequence again. Then left knee, left arm. So you're going from side to side. One more time around. And you'll be back where you started. And then sweep your left leg around, straighten your right leg. And sit up tall. Left or right hand could come underneath the left. It's the other side, yeah. So, yes, so it's actually left leg is straight and right foot is on the outer side of your left thigh and twisting towards the right. Sorry about that. Breathing. And then unwinding your twist, stepping your right foot on the inside of the left thigh, bringing the sole of your right foot to the inner left thigh, coming forward. Maybe with a strap or reaching for the foot, staying with your long spine, free and deep breathing. take your left hand to the right knee, taking a twist like this. Gaze goes back over your right shoulder. And then turning back to face forward, you could extend both legs. Bring your left leg on top of right, so your legs are crossed. And come into a little bit of a forward fold. With the legs crossed, so you might feel it in a little different way. I feel it more on the outer, kind of the outer hamstring, I think, on my left leg. Coming back up and switching the cross of your legs, right leg on top. And then coming out and bring your feet side by side and come into a forward bend with your legs in the conventional way. And then sitting up tall, you could reach forward and roll very slowly down towards the floor. We're going to have a ball and maybe a block also handy. Oh, thank you. So let's start with the ball. And you are back with the ball under your upper spine. And reaching back behind your head to support your head. You could extend your legs or bend your knees. And we'll do some little kind of crunches, but just support the head. So you can look up towards the ceiling. So feel your back arching over the ball, and then feel the front of your body contract as you lift up. So lengthening the front of the body and contracting it. Arching your back over the ball and supporting your head as you do it a couple times. So it's a little crunch. If it hurts, maybe make it a smaller movement if it feels like too much. If it feels good to you to come into fish over a ball, you might need a pillow under your head. You could bend the knees or straighten the legs. You could come back towards the floor with your head. I recommend a pillow under the head. I don't have one handy, but I do have a block, so I'm going to put the block under my head. Just makes it easier to breathe and easier on my neck. And then walk the feet in, support your head as you come up. When you're ready, take the ball out. We're still going to use the ball, so keep it handy. And take the block or a ball, either one, put it in between your knees and squeeze the block. You can bring your arms out to the sides. Just pause for a moment. Excuse me, feel your sacrum pressing against the floor and your belly drawing down and lengthening, and lift the knees. Squeezing the block, let your knees go side to side slowly. So keep the knees pointing straight up. Try not to draw them back in towards the chest. When you come over to one side, just pause briefly, squeezing your block, and then back through center and to the other side. Hovering your knees above the floor, squeezing the block. One more time on each side. Trying to draw the belly down. And then back to center, keeping your feet lifted. Just stay there for a moment, drawing belly down, squeezing the block, keeping a neutral position of your spine. For me, this is actually kind of a lot of work to just lift my feet up. And then let your feet come down. Keep squeezing the block and lift the hips into bridge pose with the block there. Taking a few breaths as you squeeze the block. You can also, for me, the block's a little narrow. This is a pretty narrow block. I'm going to put the ball there instead. That feels more like hip width, and I can really squeeze it. It feels good. I have pretty wide hips, though. 3 babies. Had to get 3 babies out of my pelvis, so you know. Breathing. Try to keep some space under the neck. Stay in your bridge pose. Keep lifting the hips and squeezing the ball. You might be getting to a fatigue. You can always come out, but try to hold it if you can and breathe and notice your sensations and your struggles with it. You want to come down, you want to get out of it. Can you stay a little longer? Maybe not. Maybe you need to come down. Maybe that's better for your body. I'm feeling like it's time, so I'm going to roll slowly down. Bringing my hips down. And then take the ball out and put it underneath your sacrum. And walk your feet forward. So now you're in a supported bridge pose on the ball. With your legs straightening perhaps, lengthening out. Relax your head back against the floor and your jaw. Feeling your breath. Letting the front of your hips open. And then walk the feet in. You'll be back in your supported bridge with your knees bent. Bringing your arms out to the sides. Lift your feet up. So now you're on the ball. And exhale your right heel down towards the floor. And just pause there. So draw the belly down. Let your heel, right heel, hover above the floor. Lengthen, press it out. Toes slightly turned out. Breathe comfortably. Try not to let your belly pop up. And then pressing tailbone into the ball, lift that leg back up. Exhale your left heel towards the floor. Hovering left heel above the floor, draw belly down, stay there, press out. Toes of your left foot slightly turned out. Try to breathe comfortably here as you hover your left heel above the floor. And then inhale the leg back up. And this time, let's very slowly bring your heels down, toes slightly turned out. So both legs, just bring them down a bit. Pause, find your kind of your neutral spine, your belly draws down, come a little further down. Maybe that's as far as you're going to go, maybe you can come a little further. And just keep moving very slowly towards the floor. Maybe the heels come all the way down again and you're again in this little back bend over the ball with your hips lifted, and it's a relief. Then walk the feet in, take the ball out, and just set it off to the side for a moment here. You might use it some more. Lift your, keep left knee bent, lift your right foot up and come into happy baby on the right side. So keep pressing tailbone back towards the floor. You could have your hand on the outside of the foot or on the inner part of the foot, on the arch. Maybe you could extend your left leg. You might feel some stretch across the front of your left hip. And also you can reach back behind the thigh. You don't have to reach for the foot. And then release that and bring the sole of your right foot to the floor. Lift your left leg into happy baby. I should say half happy baby. Again, you could reach back behind the thigh or for the sole of the foot. Pressing your tailbone back towards the floor. So you're staying with a neutral position of your spine. And then Maybe extending your right leg. And release that left foot. Bring your feet, knees bent, feet wide, arms out to the sides. Let your knees drop from side to side. So we kind of did this before when we were sitting upright. Now we're doing it with our back on the floor. Let your knees drop to the left and just pause there. You could bring your left ankle on top of the right knee. You can also walk your right foot back so that your thigh is more straight out, less at an angle. Just playing with it, breathing. Be careful with your knee though. And release the left foot if you have it on top, and then bring knees up and back over towards the right. Knees towards the floor in deer pose, bringing right ankle perhaps on top of left knee. Again, you could walk your left foot back so that your left thigh is a little straighter down from your body rather than angled. Just finding the right angle and breathing. And releasing the right foot, and bringing the knees back up. Maybe let them drop a couple times side to side. And then lift your feet up, bring the soles of your feet together so you're like in a cobbler's pose, but on your back. So the soles of the feet are together. Kind of babies do this. You could kind of rock from side to side. It's like Happy Baby, but with your feet together-ish. And then release your feet. Take your right ankle on top of your left knee. And you could press into the tops of the thighs, kind of getting some space in the front of the hip. Tractioning your lower back a little. And then maybe reaching back behind your left thigh, threading the needle, lifting the left foot, maybe rocking. My dad has had some sciatica and I suggested this to him with this rocking. And he said he had been doing it without the rocking, but the rocking actually was helping his sciatica. So you might like it, rocking side to side, maybe pressing into your right knee with your right elbow as you rock. And then come back to center, release your left foot back to the floor, taking left hand onto your right ankle and letting your right foot drop over across so you're in a twist, maybe keeping a hold of your right ankle with your left hand. Extending your right arm, and you could just look back over the right shoulder. Getting sleepy. The more I'm on the floor at 8:30 or 8:15, the sleepier I am. And then I'll get my second wind when I leave here. It'll take me a while to wind down. And then you can release your ankle, bring your leg back up and switch, bringing the left ankle on top of your right knee, pressing into the tops of your thighs. And then reaching back behind your right thigh, pressing your left knee away and rocking from side to side. A lot more bird noises now that spring is coming. I've been noticing. Even here, I can hear them in the middle of the city. And then come back to center, release your right foot back to the floor, bring right hand on top of left ankle and let your left foot come across over to the floor. You could extend your left arm and look back over your left shoulder. If you can't keep a hold of your ankle, that's just fine. Just a couple breaths there. And then releasing your left ankle and bringing your legs back up, unwinding your legs. And draw the knees in and just circle a little. You could release your arms, circle the knees in one direction and the other. And then bring the soles of the feet together and knees apart for a moment. If this is comfortable for you, coming into this reclined, bound angle, you can also reach for your elbows and bring your arms up overhead or into this position with the elbows bent. And just resting back against the floor, you might then extend your legs, coming into corpse pose, Shavasana, with the arms down by your sides. Coming onto your back when you're ready for your final resting pose. I'm going to turn the lights down. So taking a few moments here to let go of your practice and bring yourself into some kind of resting state in your nervous system. And also letting your practice integrate into your whole being. So feeling the effects of your practice. Laying on your back and releasing the weight of your body against the floor. See if you can bring yourself back into this kind of neutral state in your mind. So the things that we like to do, the things that we're looking forward to, we can kind of crave them. Like in our practice, it might be that we really like doing a certain pose, and so we kind of gravitate towards that, or we crave it, or we hope for it. And then the things that feel difficult, we might have an aversion to. So there could be certain poses. So instead of moving into those states of aversion and craving, we might stay in a more neutral orientation. This is something that we really have to do with our children, for example. When they behave a certain way, we may really dislike that. We may want them to behave in another way, even as adult children. So we may have these reactions that come up to their behaviors. I'm thinking this through kind of in a, what are the practical applications of this kind of inability to stay neutral? And so if we are struggling with people in our lives, like our children or our partners or whatever, it can really be helpful to stay in a kind of a state of neutrality rather than moving into these states of craving or aversion. We want them to behave a certain way. We crave that they behave a certain way towards us, or we really have an aversion towards certain ways of being. But see if we can, instead stay in this kind of neutral position. And we do this with ourselves too. We have constant, ongoing feelings about things, and they manifest in our behaviors. It could be with food, it could be with other substances, it could be with all kinds of things. So in this last few moments of your practice, in this resting pose, see if you can kind of notice as your thoughts arise, what happens in your body as your thoughts arise? What kinds of reactions do you feel to the thoughts, which are usually either some type of craving or aversion? And that manifests in different ways. So maybe Shavasana is difficult for you. Maybe you feel a constant sense of anticipation for it to be over. Or maybe it's very pleasant and you want to space out and you want to just feel all the good feelings. So just noticing. Wishing you could stay longer or wishing you could be done with it. So noticing what comes up and just kind of with a neutral attitude towards what comes up. It's okay, you're human. Human beings have feelings and have natural cravings and aversions towards things. And one of the purposes of practicing, whether it's meditation practice, mindfulness practice of any kind, yoga practice, is to work with our reactions, the physical reactions, the emotional reactions that we have to things, and to practice staying somewhat neutral so that we can adjust ourselves appropriately to the situation rather than having a wild reaction. If we come to our practice in the sense that we just want to do the good stuff and we don't want to do the hard stuff, it ultimately doesn't serve us very well. And we can't have relationships with people that are always comfortable and happy. So, being present with it all, with a bit of detachment, a bit of neutrality, non-judgment. And cultivating that. Just a couple more breaths. And then you might begin to bring a little movement back in, and you might feel an instant feeling that comes up, like I'm ready to move or I don't want to move, whatever it is, just kind of notice, and then begin to bring some movement back in. You have to get yourself off your mat if you're at home, or back in your car if you're here. You gotta get back upright. So go ahead and just slowly and gently roll onto your side, making your way back up to your seat. If you're at home, you could actually just fall asleep on the floor and you could wake up in the morning there, perhaps. So just taking your time to come back into this more vertical relationship with gravity, with your spine to gravity. So feeling again into the heaviness and groundedness of your seat, and to this lightness and lift of your spine, finding the natural curvature of your spine, and bringing your awareness back to your breath. Perhaps to the breath coming in and out through the nose, as we did at the beginning. Feeling the flow of breath coming in and out. And then you might bring your hands together at your heart in Anjali Mudra, bowing your head to your own practice, to your own inner teacher, your higher self, or your higher power. Thank you so much for joining in and being present in your practice, and have a wonderful rest of your evening.